Hello folks, and welcome back to Podium Quick Tips. Now in this week's short video we're going to take a look at the Analyze method, which is part of Podium's tools menu, and it's really an extremely useful little tool for troubleshooting issues in your model. So if you're having problems with textures, Podium is crashing at render time, the Analyze method can alert you to different problems and give you options to fix them and get your model working correctly. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I've loaded one of the test models from the Podium website. This is the bathroom, and I've actually made a few changes so that Analyze turns up a few more results than it would have otherwise. But let's go ahead and run the Analyze method. So if you haven't used it before, it's up in the extensions menu, SU Podium version 2.5 plus, or whichever version you happen to be using. Tools, and Analyze model. And normally this is pretty fast. If you have a really large model, it could take 30 seconds to a minute, but as you can see in this case, it was done in about 10 seconds. And these are the analysis results. So at the very top of the results, Analyze is going to give you some basic information about the lighting and materials in your scene, just a breakdown of the number of lights, the number of light emitting materials, types of materials. But the real usefulness of Analyze comes right down here in the alerts section. And what it's going to do is provide a pretty detailed list of all the things in your scene that may cause Podium to crash. And as you can see, I've just planted some problems in the model so that our results would be a little bit more verbose here. But let's take a look at some of the things that the Analyze tool can flag for us. So we've got one DTR problem, which basically means that one of the materials in my scene has a diffuse transparency and reflectivity that are totaling less than 100%. And for a material to be accurate, you really want those three sliders to total 100. And Analyze is going to let us know if we have one that doesn't. Then it's going to give us some information on textures and materials. I have one PSD material, which Podium doesn't recognize Photoshop documents, so you really need to save your PSDs out to either PNG or JPEG. Two wrong extensions. One of those is actually the PSD, but there's also a TIFF file, and Podium's going to let us know if we have TIFF files in our scene, because that can cause some issues as well. And then two final problems. We have one material with both LEM and reflections. We don't want light emitting materials to be reflective. That can cause Podium to crash. And then we've got a high intensity LEM applied to a material, which is something that can also cause crashes. So that's the alert section. Now in SU Podium version 2.5 plus, we actually added the details section and expanded the functionality of the Analyze tool a little bit. So what this does is it actually gives you a list of every material in your scene that uses Podium material properties, and then breaks it down according to the material type. So we've got light emitting materials at the top, reflective materials, materials with refraction, and then it tells you how many faces these are all applied to. And the nice thing here is that the Analyze tool is actually linked to the Podium materials user interface and also the SketchUp materials UI. So if I open my material properties, I can click any one of these and it automatically brings up the material properties for that material, and I can make changes on the fly without having to color pick from the scene or dig through the outliner. And then beneath that, we have alerts details. So this is actually going to give us a shorter list. These are all the materials in the scene that were referenced in the alerts section. So like I said, PSDs and TIFF textures will not render in Podium, so it's going to let us know right here. And then if I close the material properties window and bring up the SketchUp materials UI, and then if I just click outlet, it's going to bring that up and I can swap out this texture on the fly. Easy as that. Sync texture, same thing. I can very, very easily fix problematic materials. And then this final example was the LEM that had both LEM properties and reflections, which can cause crashes. And this was actually also the material with the DTR problem. So one more time, let's just walk through the process. From the analysis window, we're just going to open up the material properties, and then we can click any of these materials: chrome, leather white, and the LEM example, which, as you can see, our DTR is only adding up to 51%. We've got high intensity, and we've got reflection on an LEM. So this is a pretty problematic material. But if I just move the diffuse slider back to 100, uncheck high intensity, reflection is back to 0, so we're okay there. And then just click apply, and our material's fixed. So that's the Analyze tool in a nutshell. There is one more section down at the very bottom. If you scroll to the end, there's general model info. It just tells you how many faces are in your model, how many materials, groups, and component instances. And then it does provide a link to the Analyze tools documentation. So if you can't remember what some of the alerts mean, go ahead and click through to the documentation and use that as a little bit of a refresher. But that's it. Really hope you guys learned something, and I hope you make use of the Analyze tools. It's a really efficient way to troubleshoot your model and try and figure out why Podium is crashing. And now with the new material UI, it's just a really great way to fix problematic materials. So thanks a lot, guys, and have a good day.